Hello everyone and welcome back again for another build. Today's build is going to be, I guess kind of an experiment. What this is my favorite motherboard to swap out and put into a new case. This is the Dell Inspiron 660 motherboard. What I want to try to do with this one is see how much I can get out of it. Not performance-wise necessarily, but see how far I can take this to modernize this, to change the way it boots, all kinds of things here. Now, I've said it time and again. I keep getting this question of how much memory and how much of a CPU you could put in here. Again, Core i7-3770, 16 gigs of RAM. So one of the things that, of course, we're going to start off with is we're going to put the Core i7-3770 in here and 16 gigs of RAM just to show you that indeed works. Other things that I want to examine here on the board, the wireless controller. This is just a plain, wireless controller. I'm going to see about putting some Bluetooth on there too, kind of upgrade that. I'm going to put a AIO on this. So as you can see from this plate right here, that usually would be right here, that's been taken off. So that's going to get it ready for the AIO. Now, since this board only has two fan ports, one's right here. This is the 12 volt DC. And then up here is the PWM, which would be the CPU. What I'm going to do with the AIO is the pump is going to get plugged in here, and for the rest of the fans in the system, I'm going to use a hub, a PWM splitter hub up here to control all that. I have other plans for this as well, RGB of course, and it's going to be controlled by the motherboard. Well, not the motherboard, but by the software on the motherboard. That's a plan for it. Not just RGB fans, but RGB memory as well. And maybe, I'm going to see if it works, maybe a RGB controller here into one of these PCI Express slots that hopefully will boot for us. And hopefully I won't have to use these SATA ports. That's the plan. Whether it's going to work out or not, we'll see. As this video progresses along, we'll find out. Maybe I might have to end up going back to just a regular SATA SSD drive, but that's okay. Like I said, this is kind of an experiment. The parts that you're going to see me put in here are, I guess, normally not within reason for what you should probably spend on a board like this. This board's, pretty old. It's from, 2012, 2013, something like that. I don't know. I don't remember right offhand. It's pretty old. But like I said, it is one of my favorite boards to do a swap on because the swap is super easy. Unlike some of these other Dells, you don't have to muck around with rewiring like your front panel headers like I've shown in a couple of videos. It's pretty straightforward. You plug your stuff in there and you're good to go. The only issue that does come up with a board like this is the DC 12 volt fan header. If you don't have the fan plugged in here, you'll get a message on your screen before you boot, and you'll have to push like F1 or whatever to continue. But I think the pump should alleviate that. So, like I said, I'm going to see how far I can take this board and how badass I can make it. Cable Mod recently had a clearance sale on some of their extensions, so I actually have some extensions coming for this too, and I got them really cheap. They were only like $14.95. I actually picked up several different colors of the extensions they had on clearance, but yeah, that's going to go in here too. Hopefully it gets here soon. They don't take too long for them to mail them to me. But let me cut to the screen here, and I'll talk about the plan of action here. Okay, to start out with, we got the PCI Express controller right here, which is a easy DIY fab one that actually will run a SATA M.2 drive, and a NVMe drive. I honestly don't think that NVMe will boot in this computer. I don't think the BIOS will support it. Hopefully the BIOS will support, booting from the PCI Express. I think that should be okay. I guess I'll find out. I'd like to try an NVMe. I'm going to see basically first if it boots in with the SATA drive in there with the PCI Express, and if it does that, I'm going to try an NVMe. From what I understand and did some reading up on, there might actually be a possible workaround for that, which would call for installing the Clover bootloader in it. It's, if you're familiar with the Hackintosh, you're probably pretty familiar with the Clover bootloader in it, but booting it that way. And I was thinking what I could possibly do is take one of those 16 gig SATA drives that I have left over from those Chromebooks that I converted, and use that as like the initial boot drive there, and have Clover boot into the NVMe. But then again, I don't really think it would be wise to put an NVMe in this type of computer on a PCI Express slot. I think that would, I don't really think the gains would be there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way off here, and it would gain a little bit more. But I don't honestly think it would be worth the money. So that's why, like I said, I'm going to try SATA first, see if that boots in there. And if it does, well, rock on. What I'm going to use here is a Western Digital Blue drive, 1 terabyte. It's a pretty decent drive. So I think this should make a nice choice for a nice little boot drive to put Windows on. Maybe I might put Linux too. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet. Might do a dual boot on this. But and then moving right along, like I said, I wanted to try some Bluetooth in here. And this is the controller I have. This is actually a slot E type controller. So if you're looking to change out the regular wireless on your 660, what you'd want is a slot E type. The other newer types won't work, but you can get this with Bluetooth in there. From what I can gather, it should be okay. Some people have complained about this. There's another revision of this. I think it's called Revision 2. It's the same numbers then plus Revision 2, which what they say works better than this one. I'm going to try this one, see how far I get with it. I don't know if I'm going to try a Revision 2. They're kind of hard to find because like a lot of sellers, like this one for instance, are kind of deceptive where they'll advertise it as a Revision 2 and what you get is just the plain one right here under the model. But we'll find out. And then another thing I'm going to do with this Bluetooth module that I ordered is I ordered some more cables here, some longer cables to plug that into besides the stock ones that come with the Dell. Those are a little short. I plan on running these on the front bezel of the case, and they have a nice little sticky thing on there, so that should work out fine. Moving right along, I also talked about the PWM. And for that, I'm using the Silverstone 8-port PWM fan hub. And that's going to control all of the fans that are going to go in here. The ones on the AIO and then the rest of the case fans. And that should work out just fine. That's typically what I do. I'm kind of treating this like I would most any ITX board, which usually only has like 1 or 2 fan headers as well. So, I mean, it's the same thing. You just use a SATA controller like this. Like I said, this plugs into SATA right here, so it's not drawing from the motherboard itself. So that's a decent way to do it. And then another thing I'm doing here is I'm adding USB 3.0 to it, and this is the controller I'm using. I've used this controller many times in many builds. I mean, I've tried other different brands and different types of USB 3 controllers. The Sedna one here seems to work the best for me. I've never had a problem with these. That's why I buy them like crazy for older builds that I want to bump up to USB 3.0. It's got the external USB right there, And then it also has an internal header right here that you can plug another USB 3 into and lead that out to like the front panel on your case. RGB wise, we're going to go with some Corsair ML120s in this one. So clearly, I mean, if you're familiar with the ML120s, you'll know that I'll be using a Corsair lighting node and a Corsair fan hub. The lighting node is kind of the key here, because I'm going to use the hack that I've talked about before with the Corsair hacks on non-Corsair devices, and I'm going to use an adapter on the lighting node to get the RGB working. The RGB, for RGB on the DDR3, I'm actually going to use some covers, which are Gigabyte, Asus, and MSI compatible here at the 3-pin. And the adapter that I have is a 3-pin adapter. So that's how I'm going to plug in this. And then I'm also going to lead this into this controller here, which is also RGB and also takes the 3-pin headers, as you can see there. So that should work out pretty decent, hopefully. I mean, like I said, this is the plan. Doesn't mean it's going to go down that way, but we'll find out. Speaking of memory, this is what I'm using for memory. 16 gigs of DDR3 1600. It's a pretty decent price. You could probably find it cheaper on eBay or something if you search around, or maybe you might have some. You know, it's 2 8-gig sticks. 1600 speed is always what I limit it to on these Dells, because you can't overclock the boards. They don't have that in the BIOS to do that. So if you get something like 1866 or 2133, I mean, it'll work just fine. You'll boot just fine, but you're not going to be able to overclock it or change the timings on it or anything. So it's kind of pointless to put it in there, since the memory controller on the motherboard is only going to go as fast as the CPU says it's rated for, and the i7-3770 is rated at 1600 speed. So that's all the faster you really need to go on your memory. I mean, anything more is just kind of a waste of money, because it's that higher speed memory usually costs more anyway. So why bother? I know I'm not going to. But that's the plan. So let's cut here and get back to the build. So I started my build here a bit. I got some of the things installed on here. I've got the 16 gigs installed right there with the memory covers on. I've got the Bluetooth module installed right there with the new wires leading out. I've got a USB 3 connection here for now on the bottom. I might move that up more. I think I'm going to move it up, and I'll show you why here in just a second. I've got my Core i7-3770 installed. I don't know if that'll focus so you can see that it's a Core i7-3770. A problem I ran into, I noticed, and it was my own dumb fault, I should have looked a little bit closer. When I ordered the PCI Express to M.2 controller, I wanted the RGB, and I wasn't really looking close. That was actually a 4X type controller, and so I actually had to order a different one, since this board only has the 1X. I mean, I could have used it if I would have went with the 16X slot, but you know, of course I want to put a video card in there, so I'm not going to use that. Let me turn my light off here. So what I did instead is I got one of these. I'm not even going to pronounce that. M.2 PCI Express to USB 3.0 and blah, blah, blah. So what that's going to do is, not only is it going to allow me to add that SATA drive in there on a 1X PCI Express, it also adds 2 more USB ports plus a USB 3.1. So that actually kind of worked out pretty well then. So what I'm going to have here is 2 here, 3 here, 5, then plus the internal, that's 7, plus what's on the board, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 USB ports total. 2 of them are going to be USB 2.0, one's going to be USB 3.1, and the rest are going to be USB 3.0. Yeah, that's a lot of USB on there. So yeah, it's progressing. I'm a little worried about my how that pump's going to react with this little 3-pin here. What I'm using is a Corsair H100i Platinum. Of course, on that one, it has the 3-pin connector that comes out, and all that is, it actually is one little cable that picks up the RPM, and it sends the RPM to this. So we'll see how that works out. Hopefully I'm not going to get that error message. It's going to piss me off if I get that error message, because then I'm going to have to probably use something else as a cooling solution, or else maybe take a fan and hook it directly up here and like maybe mount it there or something. I'm not sure. But it's progressing along. Oh, and if you're wondering what case I'm using, I decided, since this is my favorite motherboard to do a swap out on, I might as well put it into my favorite case to work on, which is the Cooler Master MasterBox NR400. And I've done a hack on this one too, like I had shown in a previous video a while back with the front panel. So I hacked this one too. So we're going to do 3 fans here, 2 fans there. The AIO is going to go right mounted up on top here, and then the fan here. So we're going to have 6 fans total in here. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty sweet looking Inspiron 660. So I'll cut here for a second, and then we'll come back. Okay, so I've made a little more progress on this computer, but before I get into what else I've done to it, what else I've added, I want to pause for a second here and talk about something that comes up quite a bit. I've been asked this question. I know several others have been asked this question, so I'm going to actually answer that for you here and show you. Now, what we have right here that I'm pointing to with the little screwdriver is the front panel headers on the Dell Inspiron 660 motherboard. You can find it right next to the Bluetooth Wi-Fi adapter here that I put in, and it's right above the SATA ports right there. Now, the question I get asked is, can I put the reset button in here? Can I get a reset? Yes, you can. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to cut away and let's go to the screen and talk about that. And I'm going to talk about the hack and how it's done. And then after that, we're going to cut away from the screen, and I'm going to set my camera up here on the tripod, and I'll actually show you the hack. So let's go to that screen now. So the hack is actually a fairly simple one. To start out with, before we get to the hack, let's talk about where things would plug in. Now, this is an image of that same connector I just showed you from top to bottom here. You can see on the upper top right hand side is the power LED button. Here's your positive, here's your negative, so that's going to plug in there. Your hard drive activity LED is going to plug in here, positive up on top, followed by the negative. Now down below here, this is where you'd want to put your power button at, and normally you'd have to stop right there because there's no place for the reset. This little blue box right here that I have highlighted is actually where your reset is, and it works if the blue crosses over onto the right here onto this lead right here, which would be like the third one down on the left side. If you hook those together and try this, you'll see that the computer will reset. But if you unplug that and go this way, it will power it on. So what we're going to focus on here is this little space right here. And what we need to do is kind of split that off so that we've got one lead coming out to connect with the reset, so that we push the reset button, it'll reset, and then another lead coming out to connect with the power button to make the power button function. That's a pretty simple hack, really. And what I'm going to do to make that hack is I'm going to use 2 pretty cheap little things. It's something that I kind of keep in stock here on the shelves for just such occasions. And that would be right over here on Amazon. First of all, we've got the phone data wire butt splicers. This is a 3-port. I tried to find something that had a decent image of it so you can see how these look, and this is about the closest I got. If you look towards the right of the screen there, you can see that in the middle there is where we're going to put the common lead wire that's going to go in to make the split. And then on one side, we're going to go lead another wire, and that's going to go off to our hard drive power, and the other wire is going to go off to our reset switch. And to make those connections, we're going to use something else that I keep on here and I use all the time. It's these breadboard wires that you'd normally use for like an Android or Arduino or what have you. The ones I buy, they're $6.99, and they come in male to female, male to male, and female to female. So basically what I'm going to use in this one is I'm going to use some male to female ones. That'll probably work out best for me. And what I'm going to do is the female ends are going to plug into the motherboard, and that's going to lead out, and I'm going to snip one of them to use as the common, and that's going to go into that one of the plugs here. It's going to go right in the center, and then the other one I'm going to lead off with a male end outward to send that off to either the reset or the power, whichever I need. And that's all going to come together when I'm done here to make a new type of connector where we'll actually have a lead for the reset and a lead for the power with both wires for each that we can just plug into. Like I said, it's a pretty simple hack. Maybe it's kind of hard for me to explain on screen without you actually seeing it, but I'm showing you right now what I'm going to use to do the hack. And like I said, we'll cut away here, and next I will actually perform the hack, and then we're going to implement it into the build. So see you here in just a second. Okay, now to show you the hack. I'll show you what I got laid out here. I've got two wires. I got this one right here, which is a male to male, and this black wire is just a female to male right here. And then I've got this white wire right here, which is male to female, or male to female, and this one right here, which is also male to female. Okay, so the female ends are going to be what goes onto the motherboard. These ends are what we're going to use to plug into the case headers. I kept these all the same color as the what I was trying to demonstrate on the screen in the last scene there. So that's why we got the black, blue, and the white, just to kind of make this easier for your reference. Now we'll set the blue and the white one off to the side here for a minute, and we're going to take this excuse me, double male ended one here, as you can see, and I'm going to put that and fold it right in half, and I'm going to cut it right down the middle with my snips there. And then on this single male right here, this is going to be the one that actually comes off of the motherboard that we're going to split off. So this end right here with the male, we can cut the little pecker off. We don't need that. So like I said, this is a really, really easy hack. Here is what I'm using. This is just one of those phone tap connectors. I don't know if we can get this on camera or not. This has got 3 little openings in it for wires. So what we're going to do is on one side, we're going to take one of the male plugs here, and let's see if I can get that down in there. There it is. You can see it right there. On the other side, we're going to take the other male plug right here. Second here. Okay. And in the middle, we're going to take the female end, and that's going to go right in the center there. Just like that. Maybe. Hold on. There we go. So all 3 of these wires are in here, and then I can take my crimping tool right here and push down on it, and that should kind of lock it in place there. There we go. This has got kind of like a little gel in there that helps insulate it as well. So all three of these now are in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this end right here with one of the males, and I'll take one of the other male ends right here, and I'm going to slip a little shrink wrap tube over them just to kind of make this a little cleaner. I'll show you what I'm going to do here. That's the easiest way to do this. Let me get them through here first. There we go. And I'm just going to go up to the case here to where one of these things plug in, and I'm going to plug it in now. And then I'm going to slip the tube up like that over that just to hold it in place. And I'm going to get out my hair dryer. It's going to be a little loud, people. And what I'm doing here is I'm heating up that shrink wrap tubing just to kind of give it a little bit of a tighter fit on here. That should be good enough. All right, and then I could just pull it apart, and that way these two are always together. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one right here with the blue wire. Do some shrink wrap on that one. And so what we'll have, as you can see, is the 3 wire leads that I was talking about. They're going to go into the Dell's motherboard. This black one is going to be on that kind of corner there. Right below that is going to be the blue wire here. And then right below that, or off to the right of that black wire, is going to be this one, which is going to be the power button wire. So that's how that hack works. And I'm going to go ahead and implement it into this case here. And we'll continue with this build after that. And I'll show you how it looks, and I'll show you how it works. Okay, so I got it plugged in now. Just like I'd shown on the screen, the blue wire is on the way bottom. On top of the blue wire is that black wire, and then to the right of the black wire is the white wire. So let's just check it out and see if it's working, and we'll go up to the top of the case here, and we'll hit the power button. See the power button working. See if we can get the screen in there too while we're at it. You can see the hard drive activity. You can see it booting up here. All right, computer booted up, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the reset button. And you can see it reset itself. And there it is booting again. So there we got the everything functioning. The power button, reset button, power light, and hard drive LED. There you go, people. That is the hack. All right, now back to the build. Okay, so moving right along here, I have almost everything done on the inside that I need to have done. I haven't put the graphics card in yet, or the cable extensions. I'll do that last. I need to clean up the wiring in the back there and get that all tie strapped down. But right here we got our M.2 drive. I don't know if we can see that in there and working good. And the way that works is it actually wires up to the SATA port. You can see it right there on the blue SATA. And then that plugs into there, and it changes it from a regular SATA to an M.2. And this also has USB-C on there and a couple other USB ports, so that's nice on that. And then right above that we have the USB 3.0 adapter, and you can see that blue lead coming out there. That actually goes to the top of the case. This case only has USB 3.0 front headers, so that's going to work out nice. So we got, what, 13 USBs. Now the USB 2.0 that comes on this board, I used for a different purpose. I used that for the fans that you see right there. These are Corsair ML120s. I decided to go with those mainly because of the AIO that I chose. The AIO that I chose is the H100i Platinum. Now, I chose the AIO for a specific reason, and that's because of how it connects. It interfaces, of course, with the USB as well. So, we got one USB going in for the AIO. The other USB, I'm using that for the Corsair Lighting Node Pro, which is handling the RGB on the lights. But the AIO also gets controlled by USB, and it also controls the PWM on the fans on the AIO. And the PWM for the rest of the fans, like the three in the front and the one in the back, are being controlled by the, get this in the light here, maybe, by the motherboard's PWM control for the CPU. Hold on, let me stop for a second here. I lost my light thing. Sorry about that. I was trying to move my dang light around, and I tangled it up on my damn headset that I talk out of. But anyways, so the H100i Platinum AIO is controlling the PWM for these, like I said, and the CPU header is being controlled. Is controlling the other fans in here, and I'm using actually a splitter like I had talked about before, an PWM splitter. So I have actually full PWM control in this computer, which is awesome. The header right here is what the AIO is plugged into. As you can see, it's just one wire, and all that's doing is sending the RPM signal to the board, and that's actually all I really needed out of it, was to send the RPM signal. And it also helps alleviate the message you might get that will tell you that something's unplugged here. So that's why I specifically chose this AIO. That, and it looks cool. But yeah, so I've got full PWM control in here. I've got an M.2 going on here. I got the USB 3 going on here, and of course the new Wi-Fi with Bluetooth going on in here. So that's looking good. Now, I was going to do a RTX 2060 in here just to show you that an RTX 2060 works, but what had happened is word got out about this build that I was doing, and I actually have it sold already. And the guy that I'm selling it to is kind of an older gentleman. I believe he's like in his 50s or whatever. So, he's not really into the gaming, but I am going to give him something decent. So what I'm going to put in here is going to be a GTX 1060. I actually have several of those left from my mining rig days that I changed the fans out on, refurbished them myself, and I just put them back into service for somebody else's computer, so I sell them off pretty cheap on the builds that I do. Now you'll notice on this back fan here, I put a little grill thing to protect it, and that was basically so that the AIO wires don't accidentally bump into the fan. It's just kind of a little guard right there to keep that in place. The memory covers are on, and these are also synchronized in Corsair along with this strip down here, and I got to get out the glue gun and a couple tie straps and tie this down. But let's boot up this computer real fast here. As you can see right there, as it boots up, everything's going like, to the default hardware settings for the Lighting Node Pro. There it is booting up, and if we give this just a second and for the Corsair software to kick in, give it a second. There we go. And you can see it's doing a little rainbow effect there. I think I have it set to rainbow wave or rainbow or something. I don't remember. But yeah, it's all synchronized. So I can actually go over to the Corsair IQ software. We can double click that there. And like, let's say if I go like to the Lighting Node Pro, lighting channel 1, let's just quickly, I'll go to the lighting link and I'll set it to rain. And so as you can see, everything's doing a rain effect. You got the lighting strip doing a rain effect, the RGB on the memory, the fans, of course. So yeah, this is all synchronized in Corsair. Looking good, looking good. But another thing we can I can show you here, if I go down here, you can see, of course, my get in here, the Bluetooth icon. Bluetooth is working. I was able to pair it with my phone just fine. I don't have many Bluetooth devices to test it out fully, but yeah, I had no problem connecting it with my phone. If we go into the control panel and over to our network, we'll click on the Wi-Fi. You can see the speed that it is connected at is 866.7. So that's decent. That's actually, I believe it's a lot faster than what it was showing with the stock Dell Wi-Fi adapter in here. So Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are working in here. So again, 1 second here. Let me close this up and go to my Corsair thing real quick. Let me just turn this off. Turn them all off, I guess. But yeah. Okay. But anyways, everything's all synced up in Corsair. M.2 is working. Everything's working in here just like I wanted it to. Now all I have left to do is, like I said, put the video card in, clean up my wiring in the back, put the cable mod extensions in, and this thing is going to be a wrap, and I'm going to be able to ship it off to the guy that bought it, and he's going to be amazed. I don't think he really knows the true potential of a Dell 660, but I'll cut here and I'll come back after I have all this crap sorted out and fixed. Okay, sorry about that buzzing noise in those last couple of clips there. I must not have had my microphone plugged in all the way or something. But anyways, the build is finished now. You can see our cable extensions are put in. I got the back all tied up tight and cable tied and what have you. Everything's working like I showed you before, the Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth. And just to show you this on the screen, that's what we have in here. We have the Intel Core i7-3770 and memory, 16 gigs of DDR3 memory. That's what we're showing up in here. And let me just show you that there's no trickery here. We'll go to Administrative Tools. We'll go to System Information. And you can see right here, it is a Dell Inspiron 660 motherboard. BIOS version. I'm using the A13. I updated the BIOS. Here's the board number, the 084J0R. And of course, again, it shows you the physical memory and what have you and whatnot. Once again, there's the processor. So, yeah. So that's what we have here, people. Let's have a look at that front. I'm going to snap some pictures, of course, for the builds.gg. To recap, I did the hack earlier here, and I showed you how to get the reset button working. So we have a fully functional front panel there going on. Got the AIO in there. We're not getting any messages about like the fan being unplugged like you can sometimes get on this if you don't have the header plugged in over there. So all in all, this is a pretty wicked build. I'm absolutely happy with it. turned out better than I expected, really. This is going to be a wrap on this one. I'm going to put the covers back on. I'll shoot some photos for builds.gg. We'll get this in the box, and we'll get this over to its new owner, and I think he's going to be really, really happy with this one. But that's it for this build, guys. I will see you in the next one. I think the next one's going to be a Hackintosh. I haven't made up my mind yet what I'm going to do yet. I got other things to do. I might do a video on something else instead. I actually am going to put a stereo in my truck. I'm thinking I might do a video about that too, just to kind of switch it up a bit and get away from the computers for a while and show you a little something else. But I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you in the next build, and bye.